was laughing getting ready to record this video because I noticed that you can really see my tan line while I'm wearing this shirt. And normally I have this tan line from biking a lot. I love to road bike and I wear this jersey and it makes me get this really sharp tan line. So then every time I have that, I'm like, oh yeah, I've been biking a lot. Like that feels really good. That's why I have that tan line. But this year it's from working outside so much, apparently, just wearing t-shirts and maybe forgetting my sunscreen a couple of times. And now I have this ridiculous tan line that I forgot about until I was wearing this tank top. Lately, I've been thinking about how this summer is so much more unexpected than I thought. I thought I was going to be biking a lot, hiking a lot, back to like normal life, just focusing on work and doing things that I enjoy doing. But this year has been so much different than I expected. And I was recently talking to a friend who is in a season of leaning into change and resisting the change, and how change feels like something we don't want. We want control over our environment, and change feels scary and unsettling, and such an interesting conversation. And it really made me reflect on how the last 2 years of my life are nothing that I had planned. They are completely different than I thought they would be. And it seems like every couple of months there is something new happening that I was totally not expecting. And it's all been really good and wonderful things, but life has still been full of things that I did not have planned. If you would have told me 2 years ago that I would no longer be working as an engineer, that I would have started a business, that I was getting married, that I was moving, was living in a camper, starting a business, or building a house, all of these things, I would have never believed you. I would have been like, that's far too much. I would never bite off that much. How could I possibly plan all of those things in the next 2 years? Like, that is not in, none of that. Some of those things are on my bingo card, but not anything that I have planned out, right? Like, I was someone who very much liked to plan things, have things in my planner, an Excel spreadsheet for tracking it. I had a life book to put all my important documents in. I was very type A, and I liked to set goals and think about what I wanted the next 3 to 5 years to look like. And that served me well for a long period of time. But then I got to a season of life where I was very much resisting the change that I needed. I was dragging my feet. I was stuck in indecision, and the universe was just like, okay, it's time. You don't get to move slow. You don't get to resist anymore. I'm pushing you off the deep end. And now I am very much just navigating this circumstance. And I know there are so many women who are also in these seasons of change, who are pivoting, who are looking for something different in their life, in their career, in their relationships, that can absolutely relate to this conversation. And as I've been navigating this, like before all of this started happening, I very much wanted stability and security. I think we all do. And I think I thought that that was going to come when I had the house, when I had a job that I liked, when I had a thriving business. And I think there is some level of security that comes from having something that's expected. We know what we're going to get. There are people showing up consistently in our life. There's absolutely a level of stability that comes from that. But then I was thinking I was going to get this level of security and stability that I really wanted, that I was trying to control by having the home that I wanted, having the job that I wanted, the relationship that I wanted. And I thought by controlling all of these plans, I would ensure that I was going to feel stable and secure, that I was going to know what was coming down the pipeline, that nothing could throw me off, that I was going to have everything figured out and be able to manage my stress levels and what was being thrown at me. And I thought that life would slow down and then I would finally feel the way that I wanted to feel. And what I've learned from the last couple of years of just being pushed in the deep end is that feeling of stability is not waiting on the other side of those seasons. That feeling of stability is something that we cultivate while we are in the middle of these messy seasons. About a year ago, my husband and I were planning our wedding, and we, right before our wedding, put an offer in on a piece of property that we were like, oh, maybe we'll be able to build a house on there. But it was right before our wedding. We did not have time to think about it. We put an offer in, which is so out of character for us. And they accepted our offer So 2 weeks after our wedding, we closed on the property, and we were like, oh my gosh, we didn't think this through entirely. We don't have a plan. I mean, we had been talking about wanting something like this eventually, and we've been working towards it, but we really trusted that like when the timing is right, it will happen. And we had collected so much evidence in our life of this, just like things not working out the way we thought they would, and then the right thing coming along and it working out. And so we just thought, okay, we're going to throw an offer in on this. We don't have time to think about it. We're going to have our wedding. We went to Fernie for our honeymoon, and we came back and we were closing on the property, and we had to figure out what we were going to do then because we couldn't stay where we were living. So we moved out of our house. We moved into a rental for the winter that was 300 square feet. And then we moved into a camper, and we were thinking, okay, we're going to build something on this property. We'll probably general contract it and maybe do some parts of it ourselves. But we are now living in a camper and building the house 100% ourselves. And throughout the course of this, I was like, how can I feel so unsettled and still show up for my business in the way that I want to? Like, when I'm starting this business, everything feels scary and daunting. And I know that other people can relate to this feeling too. But I was like, gosh, everything feels so uncertain. How can I show up for coaching with the energy that I want? How can I show up to my business with the energy that I want when everything feels out of control and scary and so unsettled? So I was like, you know what? If we build me like an office space, that will help. So we built a shed and turned it into an office, which is what I'm in right now. And we've called it the shoffice, which I love this space. There's a picture on Substack if you want to see it, and I'll share some other photos when it's complete on the outside and looks cute. But I thought that by being in this office, it would bring me some level of stability. And it very much has. It's been nice to come to a place that is mine. All my work stuff is here. I'm set up. I have a place to come every morning. That consistency is very nice and something I really needed in this season of life. But immediately I found myself being like, oh, I'll feel so much better when the house is done. I'll feel so much better when my business is in a different place, when I'm more sure-footed. And I've just been learning in this season of life that stability that I'm really looking for, the resistance to change that I'm feeling, is something I have to work on internally. That stability and security that I want is not something that an external thing is going to satisfy. I'm not going to get that from a house, from a job, from a partner. It's something I have to be able to cultivate internally, because the evidence I've seen from the last 2 years is that life is constantly throwing curveballs at you. We all know this, and it turns out so much better than we could have possibly imagined. But that doesn't mean it's not hard. It doesn't mean that there's going to be seasons where everything feels uncertain and unsettled. And so how do we create that sense of security and certainty within ourselves as we navigate these different seasons of life? And so during this season of my life, I've definitely been thinking, what if stability isn't something that we get on the other side of something, but rather it's something we practice and we lean into during seasons of uncertainty, during seasons of change, during seasons where things feel unsettled and out of control and in transition. During this season of things feeling in transition, everything feels like it's changing. I have had to let go of so many things. In my Substack article, I just talked about like shedding. I've had to shed so many things, so many stories, so many things I had practiced for so long in order to lean into this season of my life. Because I was very much a type A person that likes to have things planned. But the version of myself that I wanted to grow into, the business that I want, the family that I want, the relationships I want, are going to require that I let go of some of this, that I step into a new version of myself. And I've had to let go of wanting to plan every detail. I still want to, but I've had to let go of feeling like that was the answer, was planning every detail and following it to a T. I've had to let go of perfect workout routines and what movement looked like. I've had to let go of my love for cooking right now. I love cooking, but it just needs to look different. My husband and I really like to cook together. We like to make really nice meals. We like to cook for other people, but cooking in a camper with this much counter space is really impractical. and we just don't have the time for it right now. It's not bringing the same amount of joy. And so we've had to just let go of that for now and trust that this is a season of life. We will be able to get back to that. But just for now, we need to let go of what we think cooking and meals look like. We've had to just focus on how do we nourish our body with whole foods right now, but it just has to look different. Cooking for the week has to look different. I've had to let go of thinking that everybody else knows better than me. And I will say that when we are building a house, there are a lot of people that know a lot more than my husband and I, for sure. He is a machinist. I'm an engineer by degree, but neither of us are builders. We've spent a lot of time like doing hard things and trusting that we will figure things out, which is why we've embarked on this journey in the first place. But that doesn't mean we know how to build a house. We're learning so much along the way, and there are certainly plenty of people who know the answers to the problems that we're having, who have ideas, who have done things, and there are a lot of people who really do know so much more than we do. But I've also learned that if I outsource every single decision, and if I look for somebody else to validate every decision that we're trying to make, I get paralyzed. I basically get stuck in indecision because I'm looking for everybody else to give me all of their opinions, and then I'm like trying to look at all of those and decide what the best one is. And this was something I learned in my previous job too, that just like when we lose trust with our own ability to make decisions, we kind of get paralyzed in indecision. And that doesn't mean we're always going to make the best decision. It just means we have to trust that regardless of the decision we make, regardless of the outcome, we will then figure it out from there. And right now we've had to find a few people who we really trust their input and their guidance and ask them for help when we need it. And when other people are giving us advice, kind of taking it or leaving it, sometimes letting it roll off our backs and just being like, oh, interesting, but I can't give that much weight right now. And it's just been such an interesting thing to have to lean into, like trusting more of your own instincts, trusting that you will figure things out, getting help and advice when you need it, but not listening to the overwhelming amount of information that is out there and getting stuck in indecision. And I've really had to let go of needing the whole roadmap laid out in front of me. A story for a different time, which hopefully I'll be able to lean into on here, was the series of events that got us to building our own house. And we are here now, and we are leaning into this process, and we're excited, but it was not on our bingo card to be building our own house. And we are people who like to have things planned and think ahead. And it's kind of funny because we've been saying, like, usually you plan ahead and you figure things out as you go, but we are kind of figuring things out after we've already done them. So we do think ahead, and then we're like, oh shoot, we kind of made a mistake, we need to fix this now. And because we're so busy, we can't think 5 steps ahead. You know, my husband is kind of being the one that's very short-sighted, thinking about the right here, right now. What are we doing literally today? And I've been trying to balance thinking a couple steps ahead because we have to make sure we have material coming, finances in place, all of that stuff. But we have no idea when we're going to be done. We know we need to be moving out of the camper before the snow flies. So we have to be far enough along that we can at least move in by October-ish. But we can't, as much as I want to plan out every single part of this process and think about the timeline or the calendar, I have to like snap out of that and get myself to just be right here, right now, focusing on the needle movers, focusing on the things that matter, and not wasting my time with things that are not actually moving anything forward, things that are not moving the house project forward, making me money in my business, the things that really matter. I've really had to trim the fat in my life, as one of my favorite teachers taught me, like trimming the fat. And that has meant saying no to things that I really would love to say yes to, but in this season of life, I just can't. But it's also meant getting really clear on the ways that I am wasting my time. And from the outside, it wouldn't look like wasting my time. Like sitting down with my planner and thinking about the things that I need to do and making a plan for them in some ways looks like a good thing to do. But I used it as a hiding habit, as a way to buffer. And right now, I've had to very much let that go and focus on just getting things done and not trying to plan to get things done. Hopefully that kind of makes sense. Every week, life feels like it's asking me to move forward with fear, to step up and just take action, even if I don't know what the next step is, but just take the next best step, and then we will figure it out from there. Use the information that we have to make a decision, and then we will figure it out from there. Life feels like it's presenting us with new challenges every week. And I know there are so many of you who are also in this pivot season or this season of change and transition that can totally relate to this. And there are also so many of you who want change but are trying to control all of the circumstances and situations around the change and resisting it because you want the calm security that you feel like you have or that you will get on the other side of resisting the change. But I feel like jumping in and forcing ourselves to work through some of these stories that we've told ourselves and challenges is what actually helps us step into the version of life that we want, step into the version of ourselves and the feelings that we actually want in our life. And I'm just kind of processing out loud because it's helpful to kind of share what I'm navigating, especially as I've been talking to so many other women who are in seasons of change as well, and just kind of process the things that I'm having to move through and that I've been talking to clients about that they've been moving through. And when everything feels uncertain, I have learned there are a couple of things I can really stay devoted to that help me navigate. And the biggest thing I stay devoted to is taking care of my health and my resources. So that means that in an ideal situation, I get to exercise every day. I get to cook every single meal the way that I want to. I get great sleep. I get to connect with people that I love. I get to do something fun. But right now, I've really had to change what that looks like. And this is something I talk about so often, and maybe we'll do another discussion on this in the future. But one of the best ways to stick to this devotion to your health is expecting that it's going to have to look different in different seasons of your life. And this helps you stay committed and recommit when you get off track. But devotion to health for me right now looks like finding a way to move my body every day. But honestly, it has not looked like strength training. It has looked like going for a walk because that's what I needed. Going for a bike ride if I have time. Honestly, a lot of days it's looked like shoveling dirt and just moving lumber around. That is what movement looks like in this season of my life. It has looked like nourishing my body with nutrient-dense foods, but really simplifying what that looks like. Sometimes it's literally just some meat and vegetables for lunch while we're working. And not, even though I want to cook and we love cooking, we've really had to scale that back. I've had to find some other solutions for quick meals like bread that is full of great ingredients that I feel good about eating, that makes me feel good. And just really stocking our fridge with meats and vegetables, things that we can grab quickly so that we're still feeling nourished, but there's not a lot of cooking going on. And then the last thing I've really been devoted to is just finding a couple of minutes to be in silence and set the intention for my day. So sometimes that looks like just sitting outside and drinking coffee in the morning. I like to use the activations app and do like a 5 or 10 minute activations, which is kind of like a meditation in the morning. And that always looks different, but finding something to ground myself in the day. And that's it. That is what being devoted to my health looks like right now. And that is not what I would love for it to look like, but it's what it looks like right now. And I am trusting that this is for a season, because our life is growing in other ways that we've wanted fulfillment in. And so that means that other areas of our life need to look different just for now. I think so many of us are waiting for the end of something, for the start of something new, for life to finally calm down before we do this work that we know that we need to do, before we're going to feel stable, secure, like we have control. And I just want to offer this idea that maybe this stability, this calmness that we're looking for is not actually on the other side of those things, but it's rather this feeling and this practice that we stay devoted to while we're in the messy middle, while we're in the seasons of transition. It's the practice of coming back to things that ground us. It's the practice of cultivating those feelings internally and not relying on external factors all the time. Like I said, they certainly help, but I think those feelings that we're really looking for come when we lean into the change, when we lean into the transition, and when we find a way to be in the messy middle and still cultivate those feelings that we're looking for. I would love to know how this landed for you, what season of transition you're in, what things are changing in your life. And if this resonates with you, or if you know someone who is in their own season of change and transition, please send this to them. Because I think it's a wonderful season to be in. It can feel very lonely and isolating, but there are so many of us going through it in different ways. It always looks different. There are friends that I have who are having babies, who are getting married, who are moving, who are starting new chapters of their life and their career, who are changing careers, who have family members going through things. And we are all in seasons of transition, and this happens for the rest of our lives. And so that is why I'm just inviting us to have this conversation together and trust that perhaps leaning into the change is actually going to get us the feeling that we're looking for, because we have to lean into the work that gives us the stability, the security that we're really looking for.